Yes. So I've never been to Mexico either personally or as a band. So I'm really excited. Finally, I can make it. I hear the Mexican metal fans are very, very enthusiastic. So, my expectation is very high. So I hope it's going to be a very energetic, powerful concert for sure. Oh yeah, I'm old school guy, so I know the Toxo Death from the 80s. They were on White Rags Records. There was a death metal band called Toxo Death from Mexico, and the trance metal is from Mexico too, I guess. Oh, yeah, and the Shub Nigrath, it's a death metal band, I guess. So yeah, I'm familiar with yeah yeah I'm familiar with some Mexican bands for sure. I think it turned out to be perfect. It's turned out exactly as you know how I want it to be. So it's it's completed in November of 2021. So it's been 9 years. So I cannot wait. It is finally coming out later this month. So I really cannot wait to finally it is coming out, and I want the fans to listen to it as soon as possible. This is a very dark and heavy album, so I wanted to express my personal fear of death on this album. So it's real, it's darker and heavier album compared to the past albums. So I don't know what people may think of it, but it is a very Japanese and dark album for sure. The biggest difference between Air to Despair and the new one is the lineup, because the drama is Mike Heller from Fear Factory and Raven, and the guitar and bass were taken care of by Frederic Leclerc from Creator. That was partly because of the COVID, because when I started writing the songs for the new album in early 2020, it was also the beginning of the pandemic. And I didn't think, we would be able to go into the music studio to rehearse or record an album because of the lockdown and that kind of things. And I knew Mike Heller. Now, of course, he's a great drummer and he has his own studio and he can record everything at his own place. So I asked Mike to play the drums for us. And luckily, he said yes. So, yeah, the lineup is totally different. And this time, all the lyrics are in Japanese. So this is the first time I sang everything in Japanese. Because as I said, the album is about my fear of getting old, my fear of death. And I wanted to express that feeling as honestly and as straightforwardly as possible. So I had to use my own language to achieve it. If I use English, if I sing in my second language, I cannot be, you know, honest enough. So that's why I use all the Japanese lyrics this time. So, well, actually, the writing process is always the same. What I do is I write the songs and make the demo on MIDI, and I keep listening to it. I keep listening to it again and again, and I keep changing the arrangement until I am completely satisfied with the result. So there is no formula or anything. The only thing I can rely on is my ears. So there's nothing else. I just keep listening to my own stuff again and again to see if the songs flow well enough. So that's how the size music is born. And it's this time it's the same time. And yeah, this time it was very easy to write the songs and the lyrics because when I was making this album, I was totally full of fear of death. Now I'm 52, so now death is something totally real, not fantasy anymore, unfortunately. So all I had to do was just let out my feeling. Then so I didn't have to try hard, or I didn't have to struggle or anything. I just had to let out my inner feelings, and that's the songs on the new album for sure. Well, you almost, because in the early 90s, everybody was enthusiastic about death metal and grindcore. Nobody cared about thrash metal from the 80s. And Side's music was strongly influenced by 80s thrash metal, before Master of Puppets era, like, Venom, Celtic Frost, Hellhammer in the early 80s or mid 80s. So I sent out the demos to all the record labels I knew from all over the world. But Euronymous was the only one who replied my email because nobody cared about thrash metal anymore in the early 80s. So, and the Euronymous said, you know, if we would be interested in signing Death Like Sirens production, of course we said yes because that was the only offer. So I'm quite sure without Euronymous, we would end up as a demo band. Probably we had disbanded in early 90s and without releasing any album or anything. So of course, I was not here without Euronymous. So I cannot thank him more. Euronymous was the reason Psy is still here today. So he's the biggest existence on Psy and me. He changed my life for sure. So this is Mirai from Psy, and we are going to play in Mexico for the first time on September 2nd. So yeah, I really want to see all the Mexican heavy metal fans to be there. I cannot wait to see you finally because I have been a huge fan of lucha libre from the my early days. Like the coming to Mexico was one of the biggest dreams of mine. So finally, it will come true very soon. So see you all there very soon. It's from Sai Song. I don't know which one is the best to headbang. Probably I like the first two songs from the album in Somniphobia, namely Purgatory and the Transfiguration Fear. Those two songs are very heavy metal. So those are good songs to headbang. And of course, the first song from the first album, A Victory of Dakini, it's a very slow and heavy one. I think that one is very good tune to headbang to, I guess.